Thank you so much for joining us again for another discussion, conversation, talk here for Emerald Paradigm. We're a little more chill today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I want to start by saying thank you to everybody.
Yes.
What a great excitement it was to put up our first discussion.
Yes.
And to have so many responses, subscribers. Thank you so very much to everyone for the amazing support.
Absolutely. It was really incredible to see that over a couple of days. We gained like 200 subscribers and views, and I was just like, wow, okay, cool, awesome. You know?
It's important to us because it makes us feel that this has a purpose.
Right. Encouraging,
and you definitely inspired us. So thank you so much. And here we are again.
Yes, definitely. So if you don't know us already, my name is Lune. This is Lavanya, and we are just thrilled to be here. We've gotten some really beautiful comments too, which was probably the thing I was most excited about because they were engaging. There was discussion, and it was really beautiful to see that. And one of the things was like, where did Emerald Paradigm come from? I was like, you know what? As you continue to watch us, as we continue to grow, you will certainly learn more about us, and we'll go into more depth of all kinds of things as they come up. But just to introduce a little bit of why we decided to do this, Lavanya, who goes by Blanca through her books. So if you need to check that out, you'll see, we have different names here. We've kind of covered that in
that was the first show identity.
So, we'll be a little playful, but... you have 13 books you've written? 15 books. And I have my channel, and it's like we have this desire to share for the greater good, and because it's a calling and it's so perfect for us. So when we connected, we vibed on that kind of level.
Absolutely. I think that it was divinely orchestrated. I know it was, right? I'm sure you resonate with that.
Yes.
And I think that we need to look at that, when we make connections and we immediately recognize a resonance, that we have a shared interest in something. In our case, it was about helping others, sharing, and we both had a love for the mystery teachings, which was, the pinnacle of what brought the Emerald paradigm into fruition. And so we're really grateful, of course, to the council, to the beloved Thoth, and to ourselves, right?
Definitely.
For stepping up and answering the call, which is something that we all have the opportunity to do. So we hope that we inspire you to be able to do the same, to answer the call in whatever way it is coming to you, right?
Absolutely. And I've seen a lot of that recently in social media or on Facebook or just like different sources of like, get out there. You're into this. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Don't try to convince people and waste your breath, that kind of thing. But don't be afraid to share on that level too. So, all right. So we want to explain a little bit about not only the concept of where this is coming from. Very brief. We kind of already did right there. But in general, like our approach to filming these or recording these, we really want this to be, correct me, please add in, of course you will. I know you, of course you will. To create steps. So there are many of us out there who, will use the term awakening, awakened, or conscious, aware, working on themselves, whatever, spiritual kind of path, any of that stuff. And we're all at these different levels here. Some of us are just curious or what is it? I'm drawn to this. Where is this coming from? Some of us are already practicing it or already in it. And then some of us, I'm looking at you, are in the deep end. So, or the very expanded area. So what we are trying to do, and we'll do our best to stay on the game plan here, but we're looking at it kind of like levels, right? Like, Level 1, we're going to kind of start the conversations on like more of an introductory sort of level. Or
like beginners, people who are still exploring, who are just beginning, and then that middle intermediate where you've begun to start practicing and you're meditating perhaps, you've had some experiences.
Yeah, maybe you're a practitioner in some way or
and then those who know that they're not from this existence, who came here to be a pillar of light, a holder, that you have a calling, but that you have a knowingness that that you're a holder, a holder, and probably an alien, like some of us are called, right? To put mildly. And that's great too, because I feel, and I'm sure that you share this, there could be isolation for many who have this deep knowingness that they came here to be of service, but that they're not of this existence.
It's difficult.
I know that I've met
to that.
countless of people who feel that way, and what a great thing it is when you can connect to a channel or to a group or to someone who says like, oh my God, you speak the same language. Like, do you know what that, do you leave your body at will? And
have you seen this? Have you had that experience? Or did you read this book? Or I love connecting with people who, they might be really wise about like astrology, and I'm over here with my thing, and we get together and we have this exchange of knowledge. It's just the vibing sweet place. So anyway, we're trying to do this in like a level kind of thing, so that it's welcoming, it's steps, it's the bridge, some of us call it, in terms of like getting into that bubble or whatever.
And so really, as you start watching the videos, you may feel that the beginning part is very appropriate for you, and as you watch the second segment or the third, you may feel like, wow, like what are they talking about? And vice versa, you may feel that some of the videos are like, wow, yeah, that's like that's elementary, like that's something I already know. And then as you get deeper into the video, into the second or third segment, it may have a resonance like, wow, yeah, that's where I am right now. That's what I'm feeling,
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so we just wanted to share that so that you can know that we're trying to offer, our goal is to offer some insight or just a conversation to every level.
Right, exactly.
Of growth.
Beautiful.
Sounds good?
Beautiful. Wonderful. So our topic or our theme, and that's another thing, we want to have a theme for each video. And what we're going, or I keep calling it a video from my other channel, but this discussion, this teaching, this conversation. And today we're choosing forgiveness, which is so important on so many levels for your soul, for your evolution, for your karma, for your blah, 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 like it could go on forever. So for level 1, we wanted to talk about something that you've taught me about, which is pardon letters. I'd love for you to share too, like some information from your book. We have a book from that Blanca wrote here that has some of these in depth more. So if you want something more tangible, if you're interested, we'll put the link below for you. But in terms of pardon letters, I'll put it very simply, and then I'd love for you to, share your part, because you have, I learned it from you. But it's about forgiveness. It's writing. It's what's the word?
Releasing.
Releasing, exactly.
It's releasing. I call it pardon letters. I'm sure that there's many. Every belief structure, to some degree or another, invites us to be compassionate, to be loving, right? And that we want to live in wholeness, that we need to do some kind of cleansing or forgiveness. And at the very basic level, maybe some of us, go through an internal inventory, and we say like, okay, I've done my checklist and I've forgiven people. And that may be okay. But my observation in doing this work and working with so many thousands of people is there's something that needs to be more than just forgiveness. I like to call it radical forgiveness. And I call it radical because it's not always easy.
No, it's most often not easy, right? Yeah.
And it has to come from the depth of your soul. And sometimes we need to dig in there like really deep in order to get there. A lot of times I hear people say like, oh, years of therapy, and God bless, I'm not at all,
whatever
therapy
works for
helps
you.
many people. But when we talk about the pardon letters, it's like, look, this is going to take very little time. And so what I love about the process is that it's very little investment on your time, and the rewards are transformational. We could probably find a bigger word than transformation, because it's releasing, it's purifying. This exercise can actually literally take you to the next level of your beingness.
Definitely.
Why? Because we are in an emotionally based experience.
Right.
And we all experience challenges, unpleasantness. That's
Hurting,
part of the experience.
Being hurt.
Being disappointed, right? We can probably spend the whole show just, right? The adjectives of all the feelings that we experience. And although it is part of the experience to have those emotions and feelings, the goal of them is to grow from them and to expand.
Right.
Not to hold them in a state where now we're going to become blocked. We're going to become stuck. We're going to become ill. We're going to become depressed. And again, we can spend the rest of the show discussion talking about the adjectives of the many things that those emotions can cause us. Yes?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
And I love what you're saying, because the fact of holding on to that or allowing it to almost in a way become part of your identity, kind of taking it back a little bit.
We can go from,
it's creating that blockage. So if you're mad about this or you're mad about that, you're going to keep it with you.
Absolutely.
But those feelings, what you're sharing about, are meant to guide us, not to, oh, this is how I feel and it will never change and I just hate this, or I'm mad about this, or I was cursed by this, or whatever it is. So yeah, especially with other people, other souls that we have these, which we'll get into later.
And as we move in deeper into this discussion on other levels, it may be a little challenging for some, it may be a little ouchy, and by all means, you don't need to agree. But again, based on my experience, my observation of working with people, of writing this book, which was my second book, and seeing people putting it into action in their lives, is we need to go through this process. And if we skip the process of forgiveness, then it may be very challenging, if not almost impossible, to obtain any other levels of freedom, of really discovering your inner self, your mission, because those emotions, those heavy emotions that we hold on to, are just that. They're heavy. They create obstruction. And if we're trying to meditate, say, or trying to make a connection with our guides, it is very difficult to bring in that cosmic energy, that fluid energy, when there is so much blockage.
It's difficult to manifest your goals, your dreams.
It's difficult to anything.
Anything, yeah. You're blocked.
Absolutely.
You're just blocked.
Right. And so, one of the things that I hear that I used to hear commonly when I would introduce people to the pardon letters is, you don't get it, you don't know what I've been through, and immediately a sense of, and I say this with love, but of defensiveness and of justification of why it's okay for me to feel this way. You don't know what happened to me.
It's of course okay for you to feel that way, but it's healthy for you. It serves you and your best to work through that. And the pardon letter is cathartic appropriate? Is that the right word for it? Yeah, it's just it's beautiful. My experience with them was just reading about it and seeing how many ways somebody could use that in their life. From the friendships that ended, the relationships that hurt us, the people that truly hurt us. We're not saying that we approve or anything, but and this is another show, but when we come into mastery, when we can sweep this around into, thank you for this lesson. Not even necessarily, pardon letters aren't necessarily a thank you. Am I wrong there? But more of a it
could be. There's really no right or wrong. It could serve many purposes. And when I introduce someone, and again, you mentioned the book earlier, it's The Path to Self-Realization. It's my second book. I wrote this book. I was inspired to write this book In the event that someone could not come for a session, which is many, with the World Wide Web and, being able to make these, connections around the world, I felt that if people couldn't come to my office, how can I give them a tool? And so it talks about many of the principles that I've humbly observed that can open the doors for us to be into a place of self-realization, lovingly detachment, forgiveness, discovery. But you know what? The very first one is forgiveness. Because if we, as I said earlier, if we can't manage to conquer that, it's going to be difficult to conquer the rest, And so what I tell people, and the exercise is very simple. It calls for you to make a list of all the people that have hurt you or that you feel in some way have injured you emotionally. And, some people say right, that's it. The rest of my life is over. There's thousands of people, right? And so I invite people to use a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being the greatest degree, And once you make that quick little list, and maybe it's not so quick, maybe it's a couple of pages.
Right.
It's really those 4 and 5s that really need a pardon letter. Why? Because those are the ones that are still triggering you in some way. Whether it's not to allow you to move forward, not loving yourself enough because somebody made you feel that you weren't worthy, somebody who betrayed you, somebody who abandoned you. You see how all of these interactions and emotional situations literally play a part in the way we feel and in the way we feel, more importantly, about ourselves.
Right. And that goes into our other relationships too, because if we haven't healed this, it's going to play out again.
Yes.
You're going to have another chance. You might as well take the letter.
Yes. And that's a very good point, because many people, and we hear this in relationships a lot. Oh, I don't know what's wrong. It keeps happening to me, the same person, the same situation, the same.
Yeah.
There is a message. There is a signal in why we keep experiencing the same feelings or the same situation of betrayal or of abandonment. And the message is that there is a root cause, an original root cause that started that, whether it was in childhood or whether it was in a relationship or maybe a friend in school. It doesn't really matter. But there is a root originating cause. And why it repeats itself, the situation in another relationship, is because you have not healed that original wound.
Right. Your body, your soul, your mind, all of these things they want to heal themselves. So you're going to get every opportunity to try it again, do it again, and it will drive you crazy if you're not working on it.
It could, that's crazy, absolutely disenchanted, is what I see a lot. People who've lost a savor for life, and basically feel that this is the hand that they've been dealt. And I will lovingly challenge that. And
You're
again,
good at challenging.
there's no right or wrong, and
course.
of course if this doesn't resonate, but I will lovingly challenge that, because we're co-creators. And even though we did come, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, with certain acts of fulfillment that our soul desires to fulfill, we also co-create. And that means that as we make choices, we keep opening doors.
Because we have free will, and that's gonna let you go this way or that way.
Right.
I just want to add before I forget that by talking about these forgiveness topics or even the pardon letters here, it's not that we're saying, oh, and now you have to go be best friends. Oh, and now you got to let them back in your life. Or, let your guard down. Like, by all means, pardon letter, block. Bye. And
that's, again, a great point. The pardon letters, I tell people, the great gift about them is that you can write them to anyone who's crossed over. I hear a lot like, oh, yeah, I wish I could heal, but guess what? They crossed over, so it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if you're not speaking to the individual. They don't require for you
You're
to
not going to
call
send
them
this letter.
Because the scope of the letter is one of the greatest ways in which we express ourselves is through the word. And that expression could be through the spoken word or through the expression of the emotions in writing. Writing is extremely healing. We know that when we journal write, some artists who write songs heal themselves.
Poems,
right?
everything.
Poems,
Yeah.
books,
Yeah.
Sayings, right? And so there's a multitude of benefits that are all taking place as we're writing the pardon letter. The expression of the word.
And the release, like it's releasing as that's happening.
The release. But what also is happening, and this is key, is that energetically, we're all connected all of the time. And so when we write a pardon letter to someone, energetically, that individual receives the release of that energy. And it is amazing.
I can attest to it myself. I have done more healing with my mother, my tricky mother relationship from after she had been gone, after she's already crossed over. So I've seen that the fact that she wasn't here, the fact that we couldn't talk about it, we didn't have to go get coffee, because that probably wouldn't have solved it, honestly.
Oh, right.
But that healing took place after. So just as like a personal add-on, like absolutely, like it works even if they're gone and it's something that you've been replaying in your mind. Oh, well, this is why, and they were always, and da da da.
And since we want to be natural here and spontaneous, I'm being guided to ask you to hold that for a minute now. Imagine if what it weighs, a couple of pounds maybe, right?
2 pounds.
Not too heavy, right? But imagine if you had to carry that around the entire day. And you cannot let it go, okay? So you don't have any use of your hands. How do you think the day is going to unfold?
Inconveniently, annoyed, blocked from getting things done. Anything.
It's going to feel like an obstruction, you hold it right? Enough, it's heavy. Sore. It's going to become heavy. It's going to incapacitate you because your hands are not free, right? And even though it's a lovely piece, it is going to become a burden eventually. I love analogies.
No, it's a good one.
Because sometimes we just need to step out and show an analogy. This is what happens when we're holding on to blockages. They become an obstruction. They do incapacitate us. And we're going to know it. We're going to know it.
Yeah, we're going to feel off. Even if you think it's not necessarily in your forefront, like, oh, I need to forgive. Oh, like, it's still there. You're going to feel it. You're going to feel off. You're going to feel like you can't get something done, or you can't make that connection authentically or anything like that.
Yeah. And so knowing that there is something that we could do, which is sit down, make a list of the people that we know have hurt us. And by the way, this is not in any way, like Lune said, letting them off the hook or, this is about your self-healing. This is about self-work. And a lot of times people refuse or just resist doing that work because they feel that they're letting somebody off the hook. Well, you need to let yourself off the hook.
I was just thinking, that last letter is for you to forgive yourself. Right. And
what Lune is talking about is that the exercise first invites you to do a list and make pardon letters to those people who you feel have hurt you. And the final facet of that exercise is to then write a letter to yourself.
The hardest one.
And it is the hardest one.
Absolutely.
And yet the most freeing one. Because at the end of the day, every time that we can check and say that somebody hurt us, or somebody betrayed us, or somebody did this or that, that's an aspect that we're holding under judgment within ourselves as well. What I often tell people is, you need to do this in order to embrace aspects of yourself. And until you don't start to forgive these people, there is no way that you're going to become you're gonna experience that state of wholeness. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Because, we say this all the time, like, there is good within every bad, and there's bad within every good. That is just the way that things move. It's like a ball rolling. So these terrible experiences or these painful experiences from our perspective, they're meant for something. So letting that forgiveness, letting that go, if you can bring yourself to even move into the place where you are mastering by finding the lesson and being able to say, thank you for this lesson, or thank you for making me stronger, thank you for teaching me this, even if it's about what you don't want in your life, thank you for being a shitty boyfriend. Now I know what I want in a good boyfriend.
The great gift about the pardon letters as well is that you're allowed to puke all you want. I call it puking. All you want in the beginning of the letter. And that means that if you want to say, XYZ, I hated you, you hurt me, you're an XYZ, it's important to be authentic and to allow yourself to express that in the beginning of the letter. However, as long as at some point before you conclude that letter, you can offer radical forgiveness. And even if you need to say, I need to do this for myself. So I'm forgiving you. Just imagine that what you're really doing is that you're energetically cutting the cord.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
You are cutting the cord. And I promise you that when you do that, you're going to feel such a lightness, almost like you lose weight,
Yeah, or you can breathe easier.
Yes.
Like all of it.
Yes.
All of it.
Right?
Absolutely. And just as a final thing, I love the idea of burning them.
I do.
But you can do whatever you want with them, really.
Right. And so after we write the letters, and in an ideal setting where people come to the office and, I tell them to, bring the letters with me, because it really is important that final conclusion has that radical forgiveness. And sometimes what happens is that people don't always get there, and then they may question the, this doesn't work. I wrote the pardon letters.
I still feel really
but
mad.
I still feel blocked, right? So it is really important. And I mean, I do open the door for people to send some, or one that you may have a problem with, if you really feel, that you want to get that, yes, this is good to go. But once you've authentically feel that you've done that radical forgiveness, then it's important to let go of the letters. And as Lune is saying, I offer that a great way to do that is to burn them, of course, with caution, making sure, right, that it's in a safe, sink or outside, but
fireplace.
It is returning back. The fire is extinguishing all of that energy, and it's going back to the earth. There's such a purifying feeling when you do that. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. Right? Absolutely.
You can always cut, break them and bury them, which not many people like to do, or just recycle them, but it's important to let go of the letters.
Yeah, don't keep them stashed in your house.
Don't put them in your diary or in your drawer.
Right, it's not like a journaling. Well, not that you can't journal, but this isn't what we're talking about. This is get it and then it's gone.
It's about release. And making sure that you release it in a beautiful way, as we just shared, is just like the icing on the cake, right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I love that you said about the energy, like releasing the energy. It goes back to this, because this is kind of adding a little twist here. I hope it's on topic still, but sometimes I feel people are almost afraid for that writing to release it, as if they don't want to let it into the environment.
Yes.
But just quickly, and this will be another thing, the earth transforms. Energy transforms. The energy is bad, negative, however you want to say it, because it's stuck in you, and it's not, that's not where it belongs, So just to keep that in mind for those, if that resonates at all, just came through. But,
Yes. Yes. And so kind of going into the second level of this, maybe we kind of already got there a little bit, right? But going into the second level of this is justification, and why do these experiences happen? And again, we remind, the viewers that this is, again, if it resonates, fabulous. If it doesn't, this is our, we're just sharing.
Is not a convincing, swaying
But
thing.
why do why should I forgive you? And, more importantly, like, these were traumatic, life-altering experiences. Why did these happen? Right?
They had to.
Did they?
I would say so. Yeah, absolutely. To be who you are, to learn, to experience, to have these experiences for which your soul has come forth to have. Growth comes from the discomfort. There is some growth, I think, in like, oh my God, I'm getting my work done. I'm doing this. It's so good. And that is growth in a way, but true transformative growth comes from the pain, the dark times, the things that really mess us up. Childhood, like, and especially when we think of like reflecting on our childhood and like how that forgiveness can heal our childhood. It can heal our inner child, which is like such an important facet of our dynamic and our spiritual being. But yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And I'm being reminded in the shamanic class, right, how we've learned that the shaman, is powerful, empowered when it becomes the observer and not engaging. When we step into a field and we engage with it, well, now we've become part of it, no matter whether it's good, bad, not so great, fantastic, right? And so shamanic teachings teach that, we're very empowered when we become the observer. In other words, you have a vantage point in that you can observe without becoming engaged.
And in another form, maybe we would call that detachment too.
That's another form. Exactly.
Right.
And so why I'm bringing those up as we get into the second level of like, why do these things happen, is we need to become the observer. If we become engaged, and look at it from a very subjective point of view, it may be very difficult for us to see the greater reason why things happen.
You have like a tunnel vision. You can only see so much when you're standing in it.
Absolutely. And again, this is not to demise the fact that there's many traumatic things that happen, things that steal our childhood, our value. There's just some really shitty stuff that happens to us,
Yeah.
And we know that.
Yeah.
But here are the choices. So we can spend the rest of our existence feeling victimized.
Reliving it.
And reliving it.
In a way,
Absolutely.
Constantly seeing that flash across your mind. Oh, that happened. Oh, that
Absolutely.
happened. Oh, I hated that.
Yes.
Oh, over and over.
And being like a venom. Eating you alive, in thought, mind, and emotion, at need, and how it hinders us as well, so that's one choice. Or we can lovingly allow ourselves to become lovingly detached, and or like the shaman, the observer, and try to now step back and see what, from a spiritual perspective, what is this trying to show me?
Right.
What is this? Did I go through this experience to prevail, to unfold in my strength, in my valor, courage, passion, in what? Because
or did this create space for me? If it was like an abandonment or a
did
breakup.
It teach me how to be compassionate? Absolutely. We hear horror stories about people who had traumatic life. I had a very traumatic life experience, which one day I might share here, right? Yeah. But trust me that wager would have been placed that I would not be doing this work. But as a consequence of all that I went through in my childhood, this is why I'm here. Yeah. So again, it's about how we choose to move and observe the experiences that then can show us an outcome. Yes?
Absolutely.
And that outcome could be negative, low vibrational, or it could be incredibly high vibrational and fulfilling. So it's about choice. We are not stuck with needing to feel a certain way because of certain experiences. I'm sorry. I love you guys. I love everybody. But
No, you're right.
We are not stuck. We may choose to feel stuck. We may feel stuck at the moment, but this is the discussion is about there is a way out. Mm-hmm. There's surely a way out, and that's by allowing yourself to forgive, allowing yourself to become detached, and to look for the gifts, because there it is. Mm-hmm. There's a gift in every experience. Mm-hmm. And sadly, but not so sadly, in the most challenging experience lays the greatest potential for gifts.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I've seen it many times. Absolutely. I love this concept so much. And something that comes to mind for me is the fact that when we forgive, mm-hmm. when we detach, when we can look at the expanded view of things, we can also see, where is my energy going? Mm-hmm. And how do you take away the power that maybe a terrible situation or person had over you? Not only transform it in that mastery that we're talking mm-hmm. about, but also take away your attention from it, you know?
Absolutely,
because if it's something that, oh, my mom was so bad to me, I have this issue, I have this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're letting that energy go there, and that's what it's creating, and that's what will unfold, and it will carry with you. So you have this opportunity to forgive, to heal your past, to mm-hmm. rewrite your story, which is definitely mm-hmm. another conversation. Mm-hmm. But that extraction, you know, there's a part of extracting from that process.
Well, I love what you're saying, which is, where is our focus going, you know, our energetic focus going to? And let's face it, you know, when we haven't healed, or, you know, we're still carrying the trauma of many experiences.
It's like a scab. Like a wound that won't heal.
It's a disease. Yeah. You know, it's an illness. It feels like it's heavy, it's broad, mm-hmm. you don't feel,
sensitive. It's like raw.
You feel heavy. It's just a burden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so how could our focus then not go there?
Right.
You know,
it's so much a part of us, right? We allowed it to be such a part of us because it's a real and valid experience that is meant to be rather mm-hmm. a turning point, a mm-hmm. thing, like a point in our life or experience where we twist it around and we mm-hmm. learn and we grow. But if we don't do that, it's still going to be that powerful, mm-hmm. but not with the benefits necessarily, or that.
Yes. And by the way, you know, it's not to say that, you know, this is a magic pill, the pardon letters. I feel that it could be transformational. Mm-hmm. But what I also invite the beloveds to recognize is that, you know, when we do like this is hardcore work, healing work, it's going to release a lot of that debris. It may release all of it, but there may be little lingerings of, right?
Sure.
And look, let's be real. We may have like little triggers, mm-hmm. you know, once in a while, but imagine if that huge, right, mm-hmm. ton of, you know, heavy energy that you felt was just released. And I challenge everybody, you know, you have nothing to lose but a couple of hours perhaps mm-hmm. In conducting your list and your pardon letters, and you will be able to see and experience the benefits yourself.
Absolutely.
You know?
It's powerful.
It is.
And simple though. Yeah. Like it's doable. It's not like this, like, oh, I have to go on this quest, this spiritual mm-hmm. quest, or I need, you know, which, you know, those work too, but this is simple.
Of course they do. You know, there's many methods, you know, meditation and
in Reiki we do like Reiki, past life healing.
But that's an interesting spot right there. And again, you know, I'm always going to remind this, you know, if this resonates, because I'm radical. But I'm a Reiki Master Teacher. Mm-hmm. I've done thousands of healings over the 20 years, and I still to this day tell people, look, a healing modality will make you feel good. It's like a foundation that will serve you to make shifts.
Yes, I love
that. And you may feel good for a little while, but if you continue to feel and hold on and to practice and to be the way you were before the healing, then it's a matter of time before the healing will heal. Will, you know...
Yeah, it won't matter anymore, right.
Dissipate, and now you're still stuck with whatever you were holding before the healing. Right. So in other words...
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Healings are conduits but the real hardcore healing has to be done. There's no shortcuts.
Right.
No
Absolutely.
shortcuts.
I look at it almost as, I don't want to say a reset, but like a balancing, a time where you can have things kind of a momentum. So if you're going to get this work going for yourself, implement new thought, implement healing practices for yourself at home through these cathartic practices, then the energy work is beautiful for that. It really...
The complementary.
Absolutely.
And I say they're the perfect marriage, which is how I started my practice, which is, look, we're going to do work, and then we're going to, after we, I torture you for an hour of, trying to reconcile with these, releases, then we're going to take you to, the reward is we're going to take you to the table then.
Yeah.
Right. And they're the perfect marriage, because now you've brought a lot of that out to the surface, and so healing will definitely, right? It's almost like the feather, right? We can now easily, but if there's deep rooted emotional blockages, then I'm sorry. And again, this is my observation, because you will feel better for a little while, but guess what? Those rooted issues are still there, because a healer's job is not supposed to remove them, but to bring energy, to introduce energy that will move, help move the movement of blockages and of energy that's stagnant. Yes?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's what it's for. It's holistic.
And so in conjunction, the marriage of the two, yeah.
That's where it's at.
Yeah. Yes.
Amazing. Moving, I guess we could take it to level 3.
Yes.
Which we kind of talked on a little bit, but, from my language, I typically called it like a soul contract. We came here to have these experiences, and believe it or not, we agreed to them. We agreed to have these experiences. We agreed to these causes for our growth, which is another reason it keeps coming back around if you don't deal with it, right? You can get into past life kind of stuff that needs to play out, which I think would be more we can talk about that now, of course, but I think that's more of like a karma maybe discussion to really like get in deep, because all of these conversations, oh my god, like you should see us together, like we can time flies by. We're like, oh my god, how much did we just cover just now? So it's very
we should just walk around with cameras.
But that like the whether it could be from past lives, but regardless, it's something that if you had, let's say, anything you missed before, anything in the past life, or something where it's like, now I need to feel this, now I need to balance this, now you sign off on it, I'm going to meet you. I knew, my higher self in the great divine knew that we would come together and do this. This is part of my purpose, right? Like that kind of thing. But the whole soul contracts, and that we agreed to it, which is very difficult. And we saved this
for the third segment of this, because that may be hard to hear.
Definitely.
And we totally honor and respect that. Right. And I have had many people say to me, like, you're crazy. I would never have signed for that. I would never have agreed to go through this pain. Well, guess what? On the physical level, of course, we don't want to, say like, yeah, I signed up. But on a soul level, there's so much to be said. On a soul level, the soul knew that this was going to be like this. I mean, where we experience linear time, and we could be experiencing this for 70, 80, 90, 100 years. It will, God blessed. The soul, for that 100 years is a snap for the soul. So that's one reason. Of course it's gonna sign up. The second is because the soul's goal is to have the experience of returning back to self-realization. It already knows it is in higher dimensional fields. And so if a soul finds itself in an emotional, 5-dimensional environment, it is because it wanted to have the experience. And it may have been having that experience over lifetimes and returning to a 3rd, 4th, 5th dimensional state, which is kind of like where we are right now in this space. But this is all emotional playgrounds, because the higher we ascend, the more aware we become, and so we don't need the emotions to remind us, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
yes?
Yeah, you don't need them anymore.
And so for the sake of explaining why the soul would even choose to have this experience, well, there it is. It's an emotional playground, and the soul is like a circle or a pie, if you may, and it knows that many aspects or slices of that pie are all components of life experiences that are going to complete the whole. Yes, so it's going to return, and believe me, that it is going to be this, that, and the other. You know, we're going to keep it mild there, but it's not always going to be, you know, smiling and compassionate. It's going to have its shadow sides, because on a soul level, there is no judgment that you may be dark.
There's no good or bad on that.
There isn't.
On that level.
It all goes back to being, what component or what slice am I achieving to the whole, the whole. Because self-realization is wholeness. We can't say then that everything is not encompassed in that. Oh, wait a minute, not the dark side. Well, it's all part of the absolute.
Right.
And so there's a judgment then in saying, what, every time you were just great? You were always divine and shining?
You
No.
never stubbed your toe. You never had your heart broken. You never...
Right, you never hurt someone.
Right, on the other end, yeah.
You know, you were never devious. Well, all of that belongs to the absolute. And we need to look at that. But of course, this is the third level, so many of you may, already have that awareness. We cannot segregate something, an emotion or a persona, and say that it's not part of the absolute, because then we're creating separation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Yep. And that's the kind of one of the troubles of here is that separation.
Exactly.
That polarity that we experience in this realm.
How that plays a part in what we're talking about, which is, the contracts, is, well, somebody has to hurt me. And that somebody can be now evil, devious, or were they just a teacher to me? And did we sit prior to coming into this realm and agreed and say, we're going to create some contract souls? And literally that's what does happen. Every time that we are in the realm of the absolute, we sit at a consult table. We do a review of our soul, inspection to where that circle is, and say, okay, I've completed this, what do I need to complete now? And how am I going to achieve that? And I
who
need
can I work
soul
with?
players.
Yeah.
Exactly. I need soul players. Lune, will you come? This beautiful one, by the way, who's helping me achieve a vital piece of what I feel that I've had to achieve, which is this. I love you. But it's not always this beautiful. Sometimes I need you to be abusive. Maybe I need you to be horrific, because I need to have that experience so that I can see that I have the strength to prevail. And you were an amazing teacher in teaching me that, even though it hurt.
Right.
Yes?
Not literally. I've never hurt her yet.
Oh, no, I'm just saying.
Just to put it out there.
But right?
No,
yes?
absolutely. And you think about I don't want to take it into a different realm either, but maybe romantic relationships, just because it's an easy kind of way to think about that, twin flame, even those dynamic kind of passionate yet change inducing sparks, kind of thing, planets colliding and creating this shitstorm in the sky of chaos, and then regrouping and forming an asteroid belt and another planet that has all these resources, and then life. It's there's so many things that come together, but we need other people to reflect what is in us, so that we can see it more clearly. You can't look at yourself, you know, like you really, I mean, sure, through meditation, of course, there's practices, but it's more difficult to look at yourself without seeing that reflection in someone else. And most of the times when someone's, you know, I'm just going to keep it in this realm, but like broken our heart or, you know, cheated on us or whatever it was, there's something in us that needed that experience so that we can have that little, I almost see it like little broken mirrors in all of us, and you've got one in there of you and I've got one here, and it will, and it's like this cosmic thing goes off, and it's like, whoa, lesson, or you know, I could kind of like ramble a little there.
I love that, by the way, like the little pieces of fragments of mirrors. That's a beautiful analogy. And, you know, when we allow ourselves the grace to contemplate, is this possible? There's such beauty in it. If we would only allow ourselves to see that, yes, we did pick our family, you know, our soul tribe. And, you know, of course, here we may say like, oh my God, I did terrible choosing. Not really. If you were able to prevail. And again, that goes now we're interchangeably going into the different parts of this discussion. If we're allowed to become the observer and we allow ourselves to see that was their role, then we can forgive them and ourselves for holding ourselves in judgment, that, you know, for all the pain that causes within ourselves. And suddenly everything begins to expand. An amazing new vision is finally possible, right?
Absolutely.
Because you don't have to be the victim. You don't have to feel like you were destined and that you have no control.
Right. Or, I have a big problem with that. That like destiny or cursed or, you know, like that kind of thing. I really don't. I'm always trying to fight that with people.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're not. Extract, you know, pull the gold out of it, because there is gold in that that crap, you know. Like,
and you know, there's those right there. Because everything is in the absolute, so there's always gonna be, you know. I've been challenged a lot myself, and people have asked, well, how do you then justify or say, you know, somebody who's incapacitated for life, or, you know, how could they make a choice? Do you follow? You know, disabilities and things. Right. And how could they make a choice? You know, they don't have a way to make a choice. Well, they may not have a way to make a choice, but I remind you then of the circle. Okay, when it seems like there is a soul here who doesn't have a choice, then they may very well be fulfilling an aspect in their soul chart. Let's call it that way. That's a good
I like
word,
that. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They just
soul
show me
pie.
that soul chart. Yeah, I've always used the pie. That calls for them to be in that state, in this timeline, because that's part of what they need to fulfill for themselves. But also remember that there's an interchange, an exchange.
They're teaching everyone around them about compassion or judgment or sacrifice.
Endurance. Yes. And so, you know, yeah, we may want to get stuck and say, you know, like, oh yeah, we kind of lose our empowerment when we start to feel that, oh, this was destined by something else other than, you know.
But when you can say, no, that was me. It was destined by me in a sense, you know, in some kind of way. You really put that back into your empowerment there.
Well, you do put it back into your empowerment, and now you can become involved in being somewhat proactive in why is it here? You see? Instead of just kind of folding your hands and, you know, and saying like, oh, I can't.
I'm just going to hate this. I'm just going to hate this until it's over.
How can I, you know, what is this inviting me? And how can I be proactive? And how about if I change my perception, which is our next discussion, about this? And if I do, what can happen? Suddenly we have possibilities.
Limitless. Yes. Really limitless. Yes. Yeah.
And that's really what we want to invite, you know, the viewers to see, how beautiful it feels when we feel that we have choices, and that there is a potential, a possibility, as opposed to feeling defeated, right?
Absolutely. No, just beautiful. Just beautiful to create that space and then grow. I think that one thing that comes to mind for me, just to like a little tidbit, is just, you know, the like, oh, I would have never picked my family. Oh, you know, this upbringing, this, da, 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 da. And it's like, that's an experience that we had to have in some way, whatever we agreed to. But like, don't condemn yourself to being stuck in that then, you know? And that's what we're trying to say here too, is that those acts of forgiveness, you bring in so much. You remove those blockages, and the universe and the earth together will fold to bring you what you want, because now you can focus on what that truly is and not be held back in all this chaos, you know?
Well, I think we've covered a lot on the subject of forgiveness, and we really hope again, with our first discussion on identity, we had so many amazing comments, and so again, we invite you to please share. Let us know if this discussion in some way resonated with you, or if it helped in some way.
And just to add, in terms of YouTube, right, because that's where we are right now, primarily, we're creating a safe space for everyone. You know, like, we're going to be monitoring the comments, like, you know, not to block out, like, you know, valid, you know, things, but like, you know, the crap that we want this essentially to be an online sacred space. So please, as you feel more comfortable, like, the comment section, I just want to like encourage that, you know?
Yeah. And of course, you know, I'm still going back to the original posting of the first show, you know, and you know, looking to respond back. And so, but anyway, I think that was fabulous. Wonderful. And as we promised in our first show, I keep calling it show discussion. I know, it's difficult. Right?
Yeah, show is good. Show is good.
That we will pick a blessing card, an oracle card, to just sort of seal, our discussion. And Lune was inspired to pick the wisdom deck. So, blessings. And this is just a little message for all of us as we close this discussion. So you pick first.
It's beautiful. It's dreaming heart. And the image is gorgeous. These are beautiful. I've never even seen these decks before.
Yes.
And I love this. So in terms of forgiveness, and what comes to mind here is, once you have that healing, once you've done those releases, like, it's limitless, like dreams, how you can create, and all these things that we literally just talked about. There's this kind of band going across this figure, this human figure, silhouette here, or profile, I guess.
Like a little halo,
yeah,
actually.
There's the halo, and then this little like wave, and it just really comes together for me for like, what are you looking at? Where's your vision? Where's your heart? And just like doing that for yourself, you know? And I don't know, it wasn't super in depth, but that's what comes to mind for me for that one. Beautiful.
I like the dream in that card.
Me too.
It's almost like saying it's good to dream again, you know, to start over, you know.
Yeah.
Right? I almost feel like a starting over kind of a feeling in that. Okay. Being guided over here somewhere. Let's see. I have to wear my glasses to read this, Lune. Can't see it all. Oh, return to silence.
Oh, beautiful.
Return to silence. It's such a healing. I feel a lot of healing in this card. And so I feel like it's inviting us to contemplate, to sit quietly and to take in, you know, what we've heard, see how it resonates in our hearts, you know, and just allow the stimulation of what we've heard to just kind of
sit with it,
right? I feel growth, you know, like little blossoms. I feel emotional because I feel like a promise in this card that it's never too late, you know.
That's beautiful too.
Yeah,
that's so beautiful.
It's never too late.
That comes up a
and
lot.
Things always blossom again, and so yes,
beautiful. And the seed too.
Right, there's always
the growth and
to
regrowth.
Replant.
Gorgeous.
And so, I love you. Thank you for sharing this space.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you guys for allowing us to come to you today, and.
Thank you. Thank you for your support, for watching, for, little things like thumbs ups and comments and shares. Like really, really help us if you're looking for a way to do that. It's very supportive. So, thank you. We're humbled and very grateful for that. And just hope you keep vibing with us,
exactly.
Subscribe and thank you. Thank
Lots
you so
of love
much.
and light to you, and we hope and pray that this speaks to you in some beautiful way. Many blessings.